AWP, Adulting with Purpose Crash Course. We are going to be talking about Abigail, but before we talk about Abigail, some of you probably never heard about Abigail, and I didn't either until a couple of weeks ago, okay? But Abigail actually was David's second wife. David's first wife was named either Michelle or McCall. I don't know how to pronounce her first name, but it's all good and all gravy. We're going to get into it. But before we get into Abigail and her wisdom, we are going to get into true love. True love with David's first wife, McCall, okay? Before we get into her, we need to go back and talk a little bit about David. We can't just go and talk about his wives without talking about him, okay? So guys, I want you to read this week 1 Samuel 17, the whole chapter, because basically what it's going to start out with is talking about this Philistine named Goliath, okay? So we all heard of David beat Goliath, but we really didn't get into detail about what happened, okay? So David was like about 13, 14 years old. He was pretty young. He stayed at home and he attended to the sheep. Remember that. He attended to the sheep at home. He had like 8 brothers. His father name was Jesse, okay? And his brothers, Saul was the leader at the time of Israel, and his brothers served in the army, okay? 3 of his older brothers. So one day when they was about to fight Goliath or the Philistine, Jesse, which is David's father, was like, David. Like, David was like with the sheep. He's like, David, come. He's like, take your brother these corn, these loaves, these, I think cheese. Like, he was like, take this to their leader, take this to their men. So David goes in the morning. He goes down to the camp where they're about to fight Goliath, and he brings like the food that his father tells him to bring. But his older brother kind of pulls and checks him and like, David, what are you doing here? He's like, you so mischievous. Like, basically, David, you nosy, and I know you here to see the fight. David, like, I'm not here to see the fight, but since I'm here, you know, David's like walking around, what y'all scared for? Why everybody nervous? Because it says that they were nervous, you know, because of Goliath and how big he was. It describes it. 1 Samuel 17, read the whole chapter. It will describe what Goliath looks like, and it describes like why the Israelites were very afraid of him. But David, he like has the heart of a champion. He comes through, and David is like, listen, I ain't afraid of nothing or nobody because I have the living God inside of me. Why are we shaking and why do we fear when God will vindicate us? I'm like, come on, David, King David. Now, David does get a little messy in his life like we do too in our lives. But it's like, as a kid, he was destined for greatness. You know what I'm saying? David is telling grown men that's afraid to fight in a battle. He's like, what y'all afraid for? You already won. Like, it's a no-brainer. So David, this is the kid, David, 13, 14 years old. So David even says to like Goliath, like David goes to Goliath and like, man, like you may fight me with a sword, because actually Saul, back it up. Saul, the leader of, you know, the Israelites, like he tried to send David home. Like, you're just a boy. You're a youth. You're young. Go home. Like, go home, Roger. You're young. You can't fight this battle. But David was like, no, I want to fight for you. I want to fight. So David basically is telling Saul, the leader, like, look, there was a bird and a lion that took my lamb out of the flock because I tend to the sheep and stuff. So he was like, when they took it, I smoked them and I took my lamb back. Like, I have no fear. So long story short, Saul, the leader, is like, you know what, David, go ahead. We're going to let you fight. We want to gear you up and let you fight. But David then says something so profound in verse 45, and let me read it. David says, then said David to the Philistine, thou comest to me with a sword and with a spear and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defiled. This day will the Lord deliver thee into mine hand. I will smite thee and take thine head from thee, and I will give the carcasses of the host of Philistines this day unto the fowls of the air and to the wild of the beasts of the field, and all the earth may know there is a God in Israel, right? This is what David is saying to Goliath. Like, Goliath is basically like, I'm pretty much going to hurt you. You're a kid, you're small, and you picked the wrong one. But I'm going to deliver you basically to the birds and the beasts of the field. Long story short, David won. Y'all already know what happened. David won. So after David won, after David beats Goliath, let's talk about what happened with him and Saul. Okay?